Give me a minute. I may not know who, but I know somebody. I'll get it for you. Just give me a minute. So it's always the resilience and the bounce back. It always leads back to the bounce back.
The bounce back.
Yep.
That's I think we're gonna get shirts that say that.
Bounce back.
2026.
Yeah.
The bounce back.
The bounce back. Definitely.
Reach out to one of us, get connected with these resources. The path is bright. It might not always be bright on the way there, but the end of the path is bright.
What you're hearing is that the Bright Path, you can get involved on so many levels. You can get involved on a community level. You can get involved on an independent household level. You can get involved as a community partner, whether you're public, private, or nonprofit. If you want to help and support the quality of life of housing in the Virgin Islands for all of our residents and our Housing Choice Voucher Program participants, you can get involved with us. Welcome to the Stay in the Loop podcast, where we talk about real things happening at the Virgin Islands Housing Authority. My name is Emmanuella Perez-Cassius, Director of Resident Wellness and Empowerment, and your host. There are no suits, no slideshows, just conversations and stories, and a few laughs about where we are and how we are building stronger communities all across the territory. On today's show, we are focusing and featuring Localized, a brand that celebrates the true heartbeat of the Virgin Islands housing culture through fashion, food, and art. Founded in 2021, Localized captures island people's pride and bold designs through rich flavors and deep cultural roots. We've got some of their amazing products right here on set. The reason why we're choosing to highlight this business is because this is a resident-led business. At the Virgin Islands Housing Authority, it is more than just a brand. It's a culture and movement that keeps our stories alive. Check them out at vlocalizedvi.com and support local creative representations of the Virgin Islands with pride, indulgence, and be localized. Today's episode, welcome to the Bright Path, where we're talking about how the Virgin Islands Housing Authority is helping residents become more resilient and self-sufficient, and how our team makes it happen day to day. Our guest, Mr. Ajani Brown, he is our Strategic Program Initiative Coordinator, and Ms. Adinah Joseph, our Community Resident Resiliency Coordinator. Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Happy Friday.
Before we get deep, let's loosen up a little bit. What's your favorite food spot in the territory?
That's a hard answer, but right now Whispers is actually one of my favorite spots. I like the conch balls from there.
Okay. Well, for me, I'm gonna have to say Katy Flavor. Even though it's on the other end of the island, the food never misses.
My Galosberian will always go to Panchi as one of my favorites on the island for food. I know we can only catch it on a Saturday, but I love it. Let's get a little bit more deeper. How do you describe your role in RWE in one word?
One word, I would say connector.
One word, I would say impactful.
Impactful and connector. One word, I will say ringmaster.
That makes sense. It makes sense.
If you could describe the whole entire department in the context of the authority with two words, what would you say?
The bridge.
Powerhouse.
Empowerment.
That's one word.
That's the one. Let me think my second word. Empowerment and driven. That's my second word. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Bright Path. Now, Bright Path is a model that we use at the Virgin Islands Housing Authority to make sure that we help to strategically look at our residents' households and increase their economic mobility by strategic supports, approaches, and of course, alignment with what they need within the 8 dimensions of wellness. So, Ajani, let's talk a little bit about the Bright Path initiative. When people hear Bright Path, what do you want them to think about? What is the big picture?
When people hear Bright Path, I want them to think about the 8 dimensions of wellness. I want them to be able to prioritize, those dimensions and where they are right now. And basically, Bright Path is all about improving the quality of your life within the different sectors, whether that's physical, environmental, intellectual, occupational, health. Bright Path is just a model that allows you to look at those different sectors and basically create steps to reach your goals within each of those sectors.
So how does your role as a community organizer at VIHA tie into making that vision real for households?
Well, for me, personally, I think about financial wellness and I think about environmental wellness. Two of the programs I am over are the resident councils and Section 3, which is a job training program. Now, the whole purpose of the resident councils is to improve the quality of life within the community. They're able to do so through different initiatives like after school care for the kids, linking residents with any educational resources, and they also host monthly community meetings where they invite out all the residents from that community and they sit and discuss different areas of interest, areas of concern, and then they come together as a community to vote on the steps they're going to take to address these matters. So just that alone, that speaks to the environmental. Now we talk about financial. Let's transfer over to Section 3. Section 3 is a job training program where we hire our residents and we give them a job, typically either in the office where they could develop their administrative skills or in the field where they get to develop a trade and get licensure. The great thing about this program is residents get to earn while they learn. You know, not everyone has the opportunity to take time off to go to school or go to a trade school to develop a trade. But we understand that here at the Housing Authority. You know, one of our goals is to empower our residents. So Section 3 does that from a financial point of view.
Do you think these two programs are making a big difference in resident lives? Give an example.
One big difference I've seen that's come from the resident councils is home ownership for the Williams Delight community. You know, just in speaking to the residents, I hear that home ownership is something that they've been working on since the early 90s. So to see this council, you know, get active and engaged and get the community engaged as well, because the council is only made up of 5 people. However, some of our communities have 200 to 300 people. So just to be able to get those communities engaged and, you know, come into the meetings and, you know, home ownership is actually a big goal for many of the residents in our community and the people in the Virgin Islands overall. So to see the council, you know, take the step to actually invite the residents out, get that feedback from the residents on what it is they're interested in, and then act on that, which is home ownership. That's something great.
Yes.
You know, they're actually seeing the fruits of the labor, and many of them have already signed the deeds to their house, you know, have already completed the closing process. So the proof is in the pudding.
I absolutely agree, Ajani. Success happens when we are able to move our households from vulnerable to stable. And owning a home is absolutely the economic way to be stable within your households. So I see that as success also.
And more than just stable, thriving.
Thriving, absolutely. That is exactly what we're doing. Thriving communities, not striving. Let's talk a little bit about building resilient communities, or households in your case. Adinah, the word resilience gets used a lot, but what does that really mean in this work that we're doing?
For me, it's definitely the bounce back. And the reason why I say it's the bounce back is not only the residents, myself, and the partner agencies that we work with, I get to see where you're in a place where you're not doing as great as you may think. And then 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now or 2 years from now, I also get to see that bounce back where, hey, Miss Adinah, guess what we did? And right now we have a full business running, or my rent is completely paid up, or I went from not working to working and paying rent, and then they get to join the FSS program. So I get to see where the residents bounce back, myself, I bounce back, the agency bounce back, our community partners bounce back. For me, it's definitely the bounce back.
I think resilience is the bounce back. I like to think about it like palm trees, you know, our logo.
Gradual growth.
So that's my thing, because I'm definitely a palm tree. I bend, but I never break.
But Say it for the people in the background, guys. We are on a movement over here, and it's just not about thinking that everything is smooth. We understand the ability to be able to bounce back. Can you share a story with us, Adinah, that really sticks with you, where you saw a resident bounce back to even stronger?
So I have a resident that's bouncing back to his best self right now. When I met with him 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, he was in a place where he wasn't working, no working transportation, kids in the house, not registered for school. So I'm talking about kids school age that are not going to school. And working with him this year, he's getting the kids in, he's actively getting these kids enrolled in school. He's working, his vehicle is just about up and running, and he's on his way to stability. He's almost there. He's on his way to stability. And for me, that was the bounce back. That's the resiliency that I look for.
That is the resiliency that we get to see when we put that level of support behind them. And that's really an important part of the work that we're doing with Bright Path, right? Giving them that level of support, whether it's a big lift of getting children registered in school or a small lift of getting you a new refrigerator so that you stay inside of your lease compliance. Over here, we are absolutely looking at ways that we can bounce them back. And Adinah, your work really makes us look at the challenges also. So let's talk about some challenges that we've had. RWE is a very young department. We started in 2022 with a great big plan. We were ready, excited to go out there and start the work, but then we recognized that not all roads lead to heaven, right? And so that there's challenges that you talked about earlier, we have to bounce back from.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Can you tell me about a challenge that really tested you, like really had you trying to figure out how am I going to push through this moment to ensure that the residents get the supports that they need?
A challenge that really tested me, a challenge that really tests me would definitely be communication between agencies. And the reason why I say that is we're in a place where we really depend on other agencies to help our residents become stable households. And sometimes reaching out to other agencies is like, okay, leave a message, we're going to get back to you. And then 2 days later, there's nothing. And for me, I overcome those challenges because I don't just wait for them to call back. If you're going to come back in 2 days, I'll give you that 2 days. But on 8 o'clock on that second day, I am calling you back. Hey, good afternoon. Do you have an update for me? If I still don't get to you, I'm going to send an email. I'm going to call back. You're going to remember my name by the time I'm done.
And I love that persistence, right? Because over the time of the last 3 years, we've also built really good relationships within these agencies. And these are relationships that maybe residents don't have. So for them, they're still on that level of calling you. But for us, we use some of our leverage to be able to say, hey, I know exactly who's the person in this department that handles this. And I know a lot of people think that you just hear this department and this department and this department, but in the Virgin Islands, there's a lot of divisions underneath a lot of those departments.
So I just found out that one of our partner agencies has over 500 employees territory-wide. I was trying to figure out where are these employees, and then they started telling us about the different divisions they had, and I'm like, okay, so even myself as a partner, I'm learning more about our partner agencies myself, that when the residents come and they're like, I don't know who to call. Give me a minute. I may not know who, but I know somebody. I'll get it for you. Just give me a minute. So it's always the resilience and the bounce back. It always leads back to the bounce back.
The bounce back. That's,
Yep.
that's I think we're going to get shirts that say that.
Bounce back.
2026,
Yeah.
the bounce back.
The bounce back. Definitely.
So you both play different roles. Ajani, your role is more to community building and ensuring that the collective is happening at the same time. And Adinah, yours is specifically towards individual households and ensuring that we move them from vulnerable to stable as best as we could and providing access. But it's clear that there's a lot of overlap, right, between community and household. How do you keep each other inspired and connected in the bigger mission of VIHA and RWE?
I would say just taking an interest in, learning what it is Adinah is doing. We have these weekly meetings every Monday where the whole team sits down. We're on a Microsoft Teams call, and each of us goes through what we were able to accomplish the previous week and what we're aiming to accomplish this week. So just doing that alone gives us a lot of insight into what the team is doing, what each team member may be doing, and where we can input ourselves and provide assistance.
I agree. The bigger mission is always on the tip of our tongues because we meet regularly.
Oftentimes Adinah comes to the resident council meetings with me, so she's able to get a closer insight into some of the troubles or the barriers that the residents are facing as well. And as she mentioned earlier, she has a whole toolbox of resources. So just from those connections alone, she's able to connect with residents on a more individual basis.
How do you inspire?
So, my toolbox, Ajani, my favorite thing in my toolbox is a pen and a paper. It's definitely pen and paper. So, like Ajani said, we have weekly meetings where every time Curtis presents out, I take note of certain things that he does that I didn't know he did. Or Ajani presents it and I'm like, okay, let's take note of this. So if I ever have this issue, I could come back with it. Or, okay, well, I heard Safara mention that she does A, B, and C for her residents on the other side of the island. So let me come back and see if that works for mine. I like to write things down, and then I love to ask questions. For me, we overlap because, like he said, he's over resident council and section 3. I work directly with the residents. So if I have a resident that has a concern in their community, I can say, Ajani, I need the resident council to look at this situation. Or I have a resident that wants to learn a trade or something. Ajani, I need a section 3 application that this resident could fill out so that we could get him on our job training program. So we definitely work hand in hand, and he sees a lot of me throughout the day, definitely.
Even more so, I can lean on her whenever I'm canvassing for the resident councils, because Adinah knows her residents on a more one-on-one basis. She knows who's interested in what and what skills each one of them has. So just that alone, I'm able to go to her and say, hey, do you know anyone in your community, Diaz, who would be interested in running for the resident council? Hey, section 3 is about to start. We're hiring for section 3. Do you know anyone who's interested? Anyone who needs to develop a skill set?
I love that you guys are highlighting the strategy behind the work, because I think a lot of times our community sees us doing the work and they don't understand that it takes a whole lot of internal communication, support, and making sure that we use innovative ideas. And this only comes because we stay so connected, right? And we're not just connected in St. Croix. This is a territorial department. So the people that you're seeing in front of you right now also exist in the St. Thomas district. These roles, except for Ajani is territorial, but they're coordinators in both districts that are working with households. And we stay connected by ensuring that the conversation is always building on the baseline mission, right? Which is economic movement, which is creating stable families and empowering our communities to take the lead on their own initiatives.
And resiliency.
And resiliency, exactly. And so that's how we're moving it forward, and we're keeping ourselves inspired,
right,
so to speak, because we're knowledgeable of what we're doing, but we're not sharing information, right? We're making sure we support each other in the little ways, whether it's standing up in the back of a resident council meeting with her paper and pen, or getting resident councils that represent their community by sending Adinah, who knows the households, to ask the questions.
Let's not forget about the resident commissioners who actually participate in VIHA's monthly board meetings. They're able to bring a whole nother level of insight to VIHA's senior leadership, as well as providing the residents with that insight as well. The commissioners almost act on the same capacity as the resident councils, but they're over their whole district. So Ashley Archibald is the resident commissioner for the district of St. Croix, while Simba Abif is the resident commissioner for the district of St. Thomas, St. John. So just having those two players in the game in those positions, they're able to keep everyone looped in.
Absolutely. And Ashley Archibald is also the owner of V-Localized. And so you can be able to talk to him whenever you want a nice pate, a sweet drink, or great merch. How does resident feedback and voice of the people you serve shape the work that we do?
Well, VIHA, every year, VIHA sits down and we sit down with the resident councils and any residents who are interested, and we go over the annual plan for the following year. And during these meetings, we're able to get the insight from the residents, in creating a plan for, our agency, our communities. Who better to ask than the people living within them? So that's why having them at the table is so imperative.
I agree. And, a lot of people are afraid of the resident voice, right? Like sometimes you think when you hear VI Housing Authority residents, people tend to associate it with a lot of energy, right?
Some of the council meetings have a lot of energy, but we know it's coming from a good place.
We're also able to inform the voice. And I think that's my favorite part about working at Housing and working with the RAB board, which is a board that consists of all of the resident council presidents.
What does RAB mean?
Resident Advisory Board is a board of member of residents who are elected officers. So they're the presidents who are elected. They serve in our spaces and they come to our annual meetings and they inform VIHA's plan. What's great about it is that sometimes you recognize the plan isn't aligned with the HUD protocols or VIHA's abilities. We're in the business of housing, and sometimes they want us to be in other businesses, and unfortunately, we're not able to do that. But what we are able to do is have those meetings, have that discussion, and educate each other, find that middle ground, right? It's like we want Star Spangled Banner in our community, and we're like, over here at VIHA, under this code and regulations, we can only give stars. So how do you feel about getting some stars? And we go back and forth and we see how stars can work and which community stars can work in.
One of the things that help us, that helped me with Star Spangled Banner is our needs assessment. So our needs assessment gives you an idea of the things that the residents want to see in their community. So we're going into these communities thinking we need residents to be financially stable, we need residents to be emotionally well, but the residents are saying, we want to be financially stable and emotionally well, but we also want to be able to have social settings where the kids can come out and enjoy themselves, where adults could come out and enjoy themselves. We could have a fun, safe space, or if they want a religious setting, how about you bring in a church? Those needs assessments help us gauge what the residents want to see in their communities, not just what we think should be in those communities.
Absolutely. And in my position, those needs assessments help me to say, where do we identify funding to meet those needs of those individuals? Because like I said, it sounds great, but there's layers to the work that we're doing. So we hear the voice, we get the feedback, and then we figure out ways to implement it together on the level of resident councils who have funding to be able to make those initiatives happen, right? If you're saying our DS wants this, we're providing you with the funding as a council to be able to do that. Or if you're saying my household needs childcare, then I'm looking for ways to be able to implement, to find funding that can be able to support those households that need that level of childcare if it directly lies to moving them from a vulnerable family to a stable family.
What makes someone stable or vulnerable?
Ajani, this is why we keep you with housing. And don't ever leave us, okay? Because you are a value asset. A vulnerable family under the Virgin Islands Housing Authority is any household that only has one income that is not stable. That means maybe you've had one job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs in a 12-month period, and then there's no other income coming into your household than that one, and then you're heavily reliant. And we know in this time and age, we're in real time right now, heavily reliance on social services and subsidy supports makes you extremely vulnerable. Because if those things are cut or something happens to that one person, the whole entire household now has an economic problem. Moderate family, they have one stable income coming in, right? We're really grateful that you've been able to hold a job for more than 5 years. But again, if something happens to that one individual,
Government shutdown even,
the whole entire household is now vulnerable. And then a stable family. A stable family has more than one income coming into their homes, and they have very limited subsidy. Maybe they're still getting a little bit of subsidy from the authority on their rent, or maybe they're getting a little bit of food assistance, but their family is stable because if something happens to one, they have backup income coming into their households. And that's truly how we'd just suss it up. It's set up, and our indicators are very simple. Economics. If you can afford to feed your household without subsidy, you are a stable household. And it's not that we're not going to provide support services for you. It's that we know you don't need as much support services as maybe a vulnerable family. And so with our limited capacity, we're able to target those households and be able to go forward. Let's talk a little bit about people wanting to get involved. Y'all have been doing this work for 2 years. I've been doing this work for 3 years.
3.
You got 3 too?
Yeah.
Oh, we all gained. Oh, I'm about to
come
go
in
on
at the end
4,
of
but
2022.
I was trying to be conservative with my age, so I didn't necessarily want to drive, but we're still very young, right? If we were children, we would still all be toddlers. Right. But we are doing the work. And so how are we encouraging others to get involved in something like Bright Path? What are some good places for them to start? Whether you're a community partner or you're a resident, how do we get people driven into Bright Path?
I will say one thing. Buy-in has been one of the hardest obstacles for me, especially in canvassing for the resident councils. I'll go door to door, knocking on doors, talking to residents, and oftentimes a lot of them are hesitant to even hear me out or to even buy in or get engaged. But if you give them the time to talk, you'll be able to hear what's on their chest. And from there, then that's how you're able to determine what resources or how you can help them. One way specifically the residents can get involved, and it's not too taxing, is just participating in the resident council meetings. That would be a great start, because you don't necessarily have a commitment, but you're able to get a greater understanding of what's going on in your community and any plans that the agency has coming down. We also mentioned the resident commissioners as well. There's one for each district. Reach out to them to get a better understanding of where housing is going and any resources that you could tap into. And also reach out to Miss Adinah Joseph. She has a big toolbox.
Hey, Ajani, I'm so happy that you highlighted the fact that you do not have to become the next commissioner, but you should always be active. By the way,
You should be
2026 elections are coming up for resident commissioners. So if there's anybody right now that you know in your community that can represent you and that has the voice and the will to want to get involved and working directly with the Virgin Islands Housing Authority as a commissioner, please tell them to get in contact with Ajani Brown. Good point. You don't have to swallow the whole elephant. You could just take a piece of the elephant to get involved. What are some other suggestions you have for people to get involved?
For our community partners, my suggestion would be continue taking part in our quality of life consortium meetings. It's a great way for all of our partner agencies to jump in, hear each other out, see what we have to offer, because sometimes those quality of life consortium meetings bring people from agencies throughout the territory. Each partner gets to come in, explain what they do, what their agency offers. I told you I just learned something new at our last quality of life consortium meeting. I was flabbergasted. I learned a lot. And then for residents, go to your property management office, ask for your resident coordinator. If you don't have my number, it's posted in the office, or the property manager, PMT, assistant property manager. They can call me. They can give you my number. Come on and do your wellness assessment. Those wellness assessments help us gauge if your household is vulnerable, moderate, or stable. And it helps me help you.
Tell them about the wellness days on a more fun note.
On a more fun note, we'll do wellness days. There's wellness days in St. Croix, wellness days in St. Thomas. We have coordinators on both islands. And wellness days are a chance for you to come on into the community, have some fun, learn something new. We have community partners in your community under tents set up where you could come out and get services. You can get tested for high blood pressure, sugar, you could come out and you could learn from our partners at VIHFA, Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority. They tell you the different things that they have to offer. We have residents who are living in our housing communities that want to own homes. You come on out at our Wellness Day event, and a representative from VIHFA is there telling you about their home buying course, the different programs they have. Our Wellness Day event is a chance for you to come out, learn, have fun, eat some great things, and meet the team.
How much does it cost to get into these wellness days?
Absolutely free. It's in your community. We come on out from 8 in the morning to 12 p.m. Don't miss the bus waking up late. First thing you're going to hear is the music blasting, and then you're going to hear Ajani or Emmanuella telling you to come on out. Good morning, good morning. And they're the hostesses with the mostest. Come out, learn something. It's absolutely free. It costs nothing. And you always go home with something. And we have prizes, we have giveaways, we have raffles. It's a fun way to hang out with the team, hang out with your community, learn something new, and get services from different agencies.
What you're hearing is that the Bright Path, you can get involved on so many levels. You can get involved on a community level. You can get involved on an independent household level. You can get involved as a community partner, whether you're public, private, or nonprofit. If you want to help and support the quality of life of housing in the Virgin Islands for all of our residents and our Housing Choice Voucher Program participants, you can get involved with us. And a little extra perk is our Wellness Day events, where we bring everything to their backyards, and you could come out in your pajamas and have fun with us, learn, and not have to do too much. So we're trying to close those gaps on things to ensure that accessibility to the programs you need to build your household wellness and to develop your own personal economic wellness is at your fingertips, but you've got to get involved. Guys, you know, we are coming down to the end of our 45 minutes, and so we're about to get into the wrap up. I want to hear from both of you, and we only have about 5 minutes collectively to do this. What's one piece of advice you would give a resident who wants to take the next step forward to self-sufficiency?
Don't stop.
Don't stop.
I would say don't stop and educate yourself as much as possible, because you don't know what you don't know. So, you know, there's a lot of resources out there. A lot of people say there's not resources, but you just have to know. And how you know is you get looped in.
Never out.
I would say accessibility starts at home. You don't have to leave home to learn something new. Everyone has their property management number. You call your property management team, you ask for your coordinator, tell them what you need help with. Ask if there's someone that's willing to help with that. 9 times out of 10, they're going to direct you to your resident coordinator. You don't even have to leave your house to be able to get some help. Just pick up your phone, make a phone call.
And I want to drill down that if you're not happy with where you are in life, you don't have to stay there. Keep going, reach out to one of us, get connected with these resources. You know, the path is bright. You know, it might not always be bright on the way there, but the end of the path is bright.
And you know, I'm going to say, if you want to take some real next steps, take advantage of our programs. Our Section 3 program ensures that you get the ability to increase your workforce development with a opportunity to still earn some income, and also our Family Self-Sufficiency program. Our Family Self-Sufficiency program is a program that is designed to use your rental money, turn it into escrow, and ensure that you not only meet goals at the end of 5 years, but you also have an opportunity to have some money that you can invest within yourself to meet your wellness needs in any way. So take advantage of our programs that are offered at the Housing Authority. Section 3, you can contact Ajani Brown, and FSS, Family Self-Sufficiency, you can contact Ms. Linnell Brady. They're standing here ready to help work you through these programs, and both of these programs lead to self-sufficiency and economic mobility at the same time.
What was the biggest payout for FSS last year? Or the year before?
I feel like it was like $36,000.
No, I think it was 40.
46.
I think my first year was 46,000.
But we weren't giving away. These people earned this check, right? Like they met their goals, they stuck to the plan, and then they got paid out. Every time you earn more money living in public housing, you pay more rent. The sooner you get onto the FSS program, the sooner we start escrowing. And every time you have an increase, that money is being held in a safe, secured account. And when you meet your final goal within the 5-year period, then you get to collect your money. And there's no strings tied to how you use this money after. So that is why it's so important for you to take advantage of these programs.
You know, I tell my residents all the time, the best time to join the FSS program is when you're paying little to no rent, because when you do get a full-time job, or if you aren't paying rent and you get a part-time job, the maximum money that you're bringing into your home now is now being put into an escrow account for you. If you're paying high rent, I would say still join, because if you get a raise next year and a raise the year after that, that extra income that you're getting still goes into your escrow account.
Any increase in your rent after you sign up for the program and are admitted into the program goes back to you at the end of 5 years. And that's what I want people to walk away with from here. Full closeout. We've had some good discussion. We have taken everyone down the bright path. We are encouraging you to stay involved and get involved in your community needs. Let's talk a little personal note on the closeout. What's something you are very proud of in the work that you do every day? What makes you proud?
I would say my residents. My residents make me proud because coming in 2023, I was at a place where the residents used to look at me and be like, who should be? What we talking to Shifa? Why we have to tell you our business? And now the residents are actively reaching out. They're actively looking for help. A lot of times I used to have to reach out and keep calling, set an appointment. But my residents right now, they're on their way. They're actively trying to make it to that stability that we're looking for. They're trying to join the bounce back. So my residents would be my proudest moment right now.
I would also say the residents, more specifically the buy-in. When I go back to when I first started and I was knocking door to door, many of times the residents didn't even want to hear what I had to say, or I'd say, hey, happy Friday, housing, and sometimes you would hear them in the house but they wouldn't come to the door. Yeah. So to see them, and that's because there was a certain level of distrust, but it's good to see them actually answering the door, actually coming out to the resident council meetings, the annual plan meetings, the wellness days. So that shows me that we're doing something right and we're making progress.
Well, I'm going to share with you both here, and you can tell the rest of the team. What makes me most proud of this work is the people I get to work with. Building that trust, seeing that resilience, and then seeing the outcomes has been one of my greatest honors in the last 3 years. And I'm feeling it in my system. My proudest thing is the people that's doing the work, because you show me that the Virgin Islands is on a bright path as a collective. I have seen us ignite, re-energize, and build trust with people that when we came in, maybe they didn't trust this system, but we're showing them that the system is theirs to use, and we're empowering them one day at a time. And guys, it has been an honor watching this get done, and knowing that y'all don't give up on it. That's the proudest moment of my career.
We don't give up on them because you don't give up on us.
Yeah.
We don't give up on them because you don't give up on us. You definitely keep us to a place where, okay, it didn't work today. Go home today, think about it, come back tomorrow morning and tell me, what could you do differently for it to work? There are many days where I go home and I'm like, what could I have done differently? And that's because you put that plant. You planted that seed of, go home, think about it, come back tomorrow and tell me what I could have done differently.
Rest if you must, but do not quit. Thank you for sharing your insights, your stories, and your laughter with us tonight. It's clear that the Virgin Islands Housing Authority is on a bright path, and that bright path is not just a program, it's a mindset, it's a movement, and it's a promise to our residents that we will always show up for them if they show up for themselves, and that your wellness in any dimension is a priority for us, and that we are tied in to driving the bus to wellness. Thank you, and have a great night.
Stay looped in.
Never out. Oh, yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Give me a minute. I may not know who, but I know somebody. I'll get it for you. Just give me a minute. So it's always the resilience and the bounce back. It always leads back to the bounce back.
The bounce back. That's,
Yep.
that's, I think we're going to get shirts that say that.
Bounce back.
2026,
Yeah.
the bounce back.
The bounce back. Definitely.
Reach out to one of us, get connected with these resources. The path is bright. It might not always be bright on the way there, but the end of the path is bright.
What you're hearing is that the bright path, you can get involved on so many levels. You can get involved on a community level. You can get involved on an independent household level. You can get involved as a community partner, whether you're public, private, or nonprofit. If you want to help and support the quality of life of housing in the Virgin Islands for all of our residents and our Housing Choice Voucher Program participants, you can get involved with us.